Well, welcome everybody to Self Care. This is Reverend Jodi Suson, and today I'm really excited to have Kay Aubrey Chimene on my podcast, Self Care. She is an internationally known bio-nutritional consultant, a light therapy educator who founded and directs Photonic Therapy Institute. She is also my mentor when it comes to light, and she is beyond brilliant. And it's not that she's just smart, she's thorough and she cares. And so those are the people that I have in my tribe. She will share today about the profound impact that your intention has on healing practices and energy therapies with a focus on light therapy or photobiomodulation. So we're going to learn how setting clear intentions can shift energy, promote healing, and create a deeper connection between yourself and source and the practitioner and client. So learn how intention will empower you to harness your own vital energy in your own healing way. Now, I have a short, small story to share with you before I bring on Kay. I was at a conference, and as you all know, I am a medical intuitive, and other things, but my dad came in, who has passed, and was lighting up both ears. You need to talk to this woman. He was right. So grateful to my father for bringing Kay into my world. And without further ado, I'm going to bring her on. Hello, how are you?
Good morning, Jodi. I'm great.
Yeah, afternoon here. We're 3:00, but wherever part of the world that you are in, hello. So, Kay, tell us how you got started in energy medicine and light therapy and all that, because it's a great story.
Well, it goes back a ways. Mm-hmm. And I had planned to be a veterinarian. I'd gone to the University of Arizona and studied animal health sciences and got into biochemistry and marriage. And, I had a 3.78 or something. And you needed a 3.95 to get into vet school as a woman. And so I was doing graduate work. And my health declined. By the time I was in my late 20s, I had very bad arthritis. I lived in Birkenstocks because my feet hurt all the time, and I really never went anywhere. So in my early 30s, I had stopped riding. I grew up on the back of a horse. I'd stopped riding. I didn't have horses anymore. And a friend of mine got me involved in riding again. She took me to go look at a horse, and he was the spitting image of the horse that I grew up on. And I didn't tell my husband, and I went and bought a horse. And luckily for me, my husband, who was like, you bought a horse? And I said, it's the one thing I want to do that'll make me get out of bed in the morning. And God love him, 35 years later, he has never said a word against it. He's supported my journey. And I got back into riding. Wouldn't you know, this horse started having all kinds of problems. He had autoimmune diseases. He had ulcers. But the first major thing that happened, we started doing long distance riding. I was riding with some other people, and we were doing what's called endurance riding. We were training for 25 to 50 miles a day on a horse. And we went to our first endurance ride, and he bowed both front legs, which means he completely tore the suspensory ligaments in both front legs, ripped them in half. Not little stretches, ripped them in half. And he'd blown a shoe, he was out of balance. The vets at the race said, put him down, pick out a halter to bury him in. He'll never be out of pain. You'll never ride him again. I was heartbroken. I was crushed. This was my fault. And luckily I took him home, and my vet, who was very holistically minded and knew that I was too, I was very much into homeopathy and Reiki and so on. My vet said, I've been reading about these light therapy wraps. I said, really? Tell me about them. And she did. And I didn't tell my husband how much I added to the credit card that week. And I bought a couple of light therapy wraps, like what you've got in your hand, wrapped them around his leg twice a day. And 30 days later, I called her and I said, you got to come out and do more ultrasounds. And she says, way too early. It's 6 months minimum to rehab a horse like this. And I said, look, all the swelling is gone. I have to know what's going on. Right. So she came back out. She did do ultrasounds. And he had, in 30 days, he had laid down all but one pinpoint hole of collagen with brand new suspensory ligaments. And what we had found when we first ultrasound him, he had old bone tendons. He had been run without warming up and all of that, and they never disclosed it when I bought this horse. So he had all this scar tissue in his legs from the older bows, and that's why he ripped again. Well, at 30 days, he'd broken down over 60% of that scar tissue. It was gone. I was absolutely astonished. So we kept him. Then I had permission to hand walk him, and we started walking him 10 minutes one day, 11 minutes the next. And at 60 days, all the scar tissue was gone. He had brand new ligaments. I stayed off of him a full 6 months, but we started ponying him, putting him behind another horse. And a year to the day after that ride, he and I finished another endurance ride together. He is now 44 years old and meets me at the gate in the morning. Sound as a dollar. I rode him till he was maybe 34, 35. And he's deaf as a post. He has no teeth left. He can't barely see any peripheral vision, but he's completely sound. He's been pain-free the rest of his life. And that was my introduction to light. And remember, I'd been really sick. So he started teaching me what I had to do for me.
Right. They take it on for us, right?
I learned how to mineralize my body properly. I learned how to change my pH. And I learned how to use targeted light to change my body, to reset the foundation for health in my body, and went on to do, a good decade and a half of endurance rides. So he brought me into what I do today. And yes, I have a background in nutrition and detoxification and ozone, and I'm a Reiki master. But my primary focus, I would say 98% of what I do now is all around light and targeted light, not just sitting in the sun or standing in front of a panel, but just like what you have in your hand, using targeted light to tell the brain exactly where we're out of balance, and then to use other light to saturate tissue to give it the energy it needs to heal itself.
Yeah, and it's brilliant. I will so I wasn't planning about talking about my breasts, but I'm going to talk about them for a moment because you brought up a horse. So I had breast reduction surgery gone wrong.
Oh no.
Really wrong, in 2011. And when the left breast broke open in the office, when they took out the staples and I told them not to, right?
Right.
The scar tissue that formed was not pretty.
Right.
And but some people may not know that if you have scar tissue, it also stops the signals from the brain to the rest of the body, wherever that scar tissue is, right?
Just a roadblock, exactly.
The roadblock. So years ago, I started using applied kinesiology and breath work, right? Putting, my hands at the area where the scar is at, and then doing, breath work. And it's a form of AK. And it was okay. I noticed yesterday, and I don't know if I'm going to shoot myself for saying this on a live show. My breasts look beautiful for the first time since 2011.
That's fabulous.
That most of the, I looked, I'm like, oh my God, most of the scar tissue is gone. They took a different shape. They look like I did they look like a breast is supposed to look, right?
Opposed to deformed and a lump out the side and a scar sticking and changing the shape. Exactly.
Oh, they call them wings. They actually have names for it they're called wings. So I had wings. And, when somebody once told me, why don't you wear a bra? I'm like, because I can't.
It would be painful. Right.
So the lights, I hold the lights responsible for that.
Well, there are so many physical and enzymatic reactions when the body absorbs light that it's hard to list them all. People go, what does it do? And I could go on for 4 hours going into 30 different individual enzymatic things that different colors of light trigger in our body.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the first ones that they learned about 60 years ago when they really started studying what light did, what low level amounts of light did for the body, was it triggered new capillary beds. And of course, the difference between scar tissue and healthy tissue is circulation through it, blood flow.
Oh, yes, of course.
So you break apart scar tissue.
That I don't typically use a capillary thread, but you're talking blood flow. Yeah, right.
So, but it's like anything else, just like by the time a river makes it to the sea, it starts up in the mountains with little teeny tiny rivulets and then streams and then, bigger streams and then rivers and then tributaries. Well, the same thing happens with our blood flow. It starts with little bitty tiny capillaries where one blood cell at a time makes it through. That's how you break apart scar tissue, is you trigger the body to create new capillaries and it breaks it apart.
More blood flow, and for those who are watching either during the show or after the show, usually I usually have a teaching mode myself, but I want everybody to understand she's the expert here. And she always teaches me every single time I'm with her. So I'll be asking questions if you are not asking questions. Okay. So that's how
that's very sweet.
No, it's just true.
And I unfortunately do go. I mean, I instantly go into teacher mode unless I'm going to something where I'm absorbing and I'm learning. So we laughingly say, "Don't poke Kay; she'll talk for 4 hours."
Well, and the thing is, though, so you have your classes that you teach every Thursday for anybody who wants to learn about light, right?
Right.
Which, if you want to do that, let me know and I'll send you an invite to that. And I mean, you are a priority for me, because I never not learn.
I appreciate that. And I love that you show up. It's the people who come every Thursday or almost every Thursday and make it a priority that are the reason that we continue to offer office hours, because it's so rewarding and it keeps my brain young, because we try to go into new topics and there's a Stump the Chumps every week where people ask questions. And I love that. That takes me back to my childhood, because my parents loved oral interrogatories and asking questions, and you had to defend your position. And sometimes you had to take a position you didn't believe in and you learned how to argue. I'm a champion arguer.
Well, and also, I mean, so when I was born Jewish and I went to a synagogue and there was a Bible study, and growing up Jewish, I learned to first ask a lot of questions, and two, respect the fact that everybody has different opinions, and how one line of text in the Bible, and we're going to turn that off. There we go. How one line in the Bible can actually be perceived probably in 15, 20 different ways.
Exactly.
So,
and how you perceive it depends on your background, and it depends on the energy you bring when you listen to the question. Going back to our topic of the day, with our energy, I know that as a practitioner, one of the things that I don't want to say preach about, but talk about a lot, is that the energy you bring to a session, whether you're the practitioner or you're the client, all right, the patient, the energy you bring, the intentions you set, affect the outcome and the benefits that you get from that session, no matter what modality we're working with. Whether or not you believe something will or will not work for you, you're right.
That's how I ended when I was speaking at church Sunday, the Sunday before last. I said, if you believe that, whatever you believe, you're right. And if you also don't believe, you're also right. Because right?
What you give energy to affects everything. And we know that we are beings that vibrate. We have a vibrational rate, a pulse to our bodies.
Correct.
we also produce our own light called biophotons.
Mhm.
And those make up how the nerves in the brain, how the neurons communicate. They travel through the body. They're one of our communication systems. It's a very low level light. We don't glow in the dark,
Yeah.
but we actually do at a very small rate. And it can be photographed with Kirlian photography. And the father of this was Dr. James Fitzpop, and he studied a lot of this. And his lab, he's no longer with us, but his lab at the University of Arizona still researches how light, the light that we emit, the light that we absorb, affects the body, and how the energy that we bring to things affects how that light affects us.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us have seen studies about how Dr. Emoto changes, his lab looked at, you could pray over water and it would change the cellular structure. They'd freeze the water, you'd get a different crystal. If you put it near curse words, you get an ugly crystal. If you put it through by Bach or beautiful music, you would get gorgeous crystals.
Right.
Well, that energy that affects the water also affects the packets of light, which are packets of energy that we absorb. So it can affect your body, but it can also affect what we drink, and it can affect the light that we absorb. It can affect the food that you take in, which is why people bless and pray over sacred foods. And it's why it's so important for us when we are using any modality, but especially energetic modalities, whether that's Reiki or massage or a pulsed EMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, whatever energy medicine you're using, your intention for that session, your intention for what it is you're providing has a direct effect upon the body you're providing it to. And the intention and mindset and emotional state of who you're giving it to affects how it's received.
Well, yeah, so our cells are 90% water, right?
Exactly.
So tying back to your connection to Masaru Emoto and his water experiment, which is brilliant, has changed the world and how we view the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your intention, your vibration, will drive everything. And when we first saw each other this morning or this afternoon, I keep saying it's not morning for me, but it was morning for you. You said, how are things? And I said, well, it's been a shit show, right? But the truth of the matter is, even though things were choosing to not go the way that I thought they were supposed to go, I put my intention on it, that it would be everything that was happening would be for my highest good.
Right.
And it did.
I wake up in the morning setting the intention that my life will go with ease, grace, and flow.
Right.
There's always enough. There's always enough of me. There's always enough of money. There's always enough of time to accomplish what is important.
Right.
And it does. I mean, at its core, energy medicine is about balancing our body's subtle energy systems to promote healing so that they come back into energetic balance. When you're fully healthy, you are in complete balance, right? And dis-ease is an imbalance. So we use energy medicine to restore the natural flow of your body's energy, whether we do that for ourselves or we do that for someone else. That's the intention, is to restore balance. And one of the wonderful things about working with light, especially targeted light, is that we're giving directions, like when we use photopuncture, which is activating acupuncture points with light. Just like if we used a needle, we're telling the brain exactly where the problem is. At the same time, we're giving the energy to the body to address the problem.
Yeah. It's like, for instance, right? So my hip has been out of place since July 25th, has not been in alignment.
You might want to explain what you're doing. The torch didn't really show up when you did that.
Yeah. So I was getting there. And so I went to go see the chiropractor, and as he was adjusting me and everything, there was really sensitive areas at not the occipital lobe, it's occipit something, I forget. It's near the occipital. You probably know.
The occipital. Yeah, it's the occipit. Yeah. It's the base of the skull.
Yeah. So it was so tender. I knew that tenderness was because I didn't have blood flow. That it really, at the end of the day, everything's energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took this light, which y'all can see. It looks like a flashlight, right? Yep. But it's got magic in it. And so I had him do his work, and I paired with his chiropractic adjustment and his pressure with vibration. And I get home, because this is why this podcast is called self-care. I want you to do self-care of your cells, right, at home. Right. Because the model of going to see a practitioner, whether it's Western or Eastern or something in between, doesn't work. You actually have to be responsible for your own health. Right. Every time you give responsibility to somebody else for your health, you just lost.
Well,
and I mean, as a long-term strategy.
As a long-term strategy, right?
Yeah.
I will never. If you break a leg, go to a trauma specialist, right? Have your leg reset. When you have physical structural damage to your body, take care of the trauma first. And then take responsibility for all the healing that has to go on, all the rebalancing, and all the emotional, the self-recrimination is one of the hardest things, right? Our little voice goes, well, if I just hadn't stepped in that hole, I was so stupid. I shouldn't have gone today. I should have gone tomorrow. And then so-and-so would have been there. And we beat up on ourselves. For me, it was when I got tendonitis in my wrists, mm-hmm. when I was in my early 30s. I couldn't lift a pot over the stove.
Oh, yeah.
That destroyed my self-image. Oh my God, there's people that are so much worse. They're starving in Africa. They have this disease. How could I let this little pain in my wrist affect my life, right? And so I just let this negative self-talk take over.
I've done it.
My self-image, my ability to heal. And when I learned to not only change my diet, address the pain, do the things like exercise more, do whatever, I also had to learn to stop that self-talk and replace it with seeing myself as whole, seeing myself as healthy, seeing myself as finished 100 miles in one day on my horse, that sort of thing. And that shifted my ability to come out of that chronic condition just like that. So,
well, and right, because what you're saying is, what you are referring to as intention is also oftentimes referred to as mindset.
Right? Mindset, whether it's you pray,
mm-hmm.
praying is setting intention.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You meditate. Meditation can be setting intention. I know we clear the mind, but we set an intention that we're going to clear the mind and open things and rebalance and opening your chakras. We're setting an intention to find that balance. It's all a method of setting intention. If you are telling yourself you're awful all day long, you're establishing that, you're setting that as your intention. If all you do is talk about how I don't sleep, I'm overweight, I hurt all the time, I can't do this. If you focus on what you don't have or you don't want, that's your intention. That's what you're building. That's what you're adding energy to.
Right.
You reverse that. And when we work, one of the reasons that my go-to modality now is light is it carries those messages deeply, quickly. Most of us have heard of EFT tapping, right? Emotional freedom technique, where you're tapping on acupuncture points.
Yep.
But you set a statement of intention when you start. Even though I still have a headache, I deeply and completely love and accept myself, right? That's a statement of intention.
Yes.
When we started doing that with light instead of tapping,
It's a big difference.
It was almost too powerful.
Oh, well, you tell me. Tell me why.
Well, because I know when I first started doing it, we call this emotional photopuncture now. When I first tried it, when I was using a guide, it wasn't exactly EFT, but it's the same concept, a little different approach, where you were activating 5 different acupuncture points in a specific order while setting an intention to let go of whatever. And I did this, and within 3 minutes, I had a stream of nastiness coming out of my mouth. I was doing this in a room at a conference where one of my mentors was up on the stage speaking, and my business partner was sitting next to me. And we're playing with this in the back, and I'm lighting up these points. And the next thing you know, stream of consciousness is coming out of my mouth, and what I was saying about the person on the stage was not nice. It was 10 years of pent up frustrations with him. Just like we have frustration with any friend, right? They didn't fix this. They didn't do that. And what was coming out of my mouth was he's still doing the same dog and pony show. He's taught. I want something new out of him, right? My partner looked at me and went, "Who are you? And do you realize you're sitting in a room with 300 people who can hear you?" And I went, "Oh."
Well, and people should know. I mean, are you willing to tell people like what I'm being facetious when I say this, your side job? I mean, you're a trance channel, right? I mean, or you're
I rarely do.
Okay, but the point is that you're gifted to do it. So when the blood starts, here's my point. When the blood starts to flow, it flows.
I'm usually better at like shutting up when I'm especially in a big room and I'm not the one on the stage.
Right.
But and most people would say, "Oh, you just said something." It was that was unusual for me. But the next week I was back home, and I was trying to work on some self-doubt stuff, especially weight. I've always had an issue with weight. And my husband came in just as I was finishing a session.
Mm-hmm.
We need to go to town and get groceries. And it's an hour from us to a grocery store. Okay.
You're in the boondocks of Arizona.
Well, yeah, we're in the hills, which I love, but so we get in the car. By the time we made it to the grocery store, I was on the verge of divorce.
I remember this story. This is a good story. Keep going.
He was being no more annoying than any other husband ever is. That he wasn't pushing any buttons harder than he ever had.
Right.
But I was so angry at him by the time we got there. Or I thought it was him, right?
Right, yeah.
And I was so triggered. And so I was like, okay, you go buy this stuff and I'll go buy this stuff and we'll meet, at the front checkout. And I couldn't get away from him. Everywhere I went in the store, there he was again. And I had a meltdown. I'm in the middle of a shopping, just middle of the store with my shopping cart, and I just shoved it at him. And I said, "I'm going to go to Starbucks," and I never go to Starbucks. "I'm going to go to Starbucks. You leave me alone for half an hour or I'm going to kill you." And he's just like, "That's not me. I don't."
Well, you are very. I find you managed. Like you know how to regulate your emotions.
It takes a lot to trigger me to that level, right?
Explain to people why that was happening, if you don't mind.
Well, lots of buried things. Years of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My intention when I was sitting there was to peel away and let go of things. Well, it lets it go like it's on cocaine. It's just flying out of there. And once it was cleared, I loved him more than ever. Everything was great. We were doing fine. It cleared it, but it cleared it so fast. And I hadn't prepared him that I was going to be doing this work. I hadn't told my business partners, my staff, "Hey, I'm going to be going through some crap because I'm going to be letting go of things." And so we especially if you don't have someone to work with, like they say this a lot with EFT, you can do it for yourself, but all of us are really good at ignoring the things we really don't want to deal with. And if we don't want to deal with it, we're not even going to tap on it, or we're not going to ask the questions, right? this did not leave me time to even ignore things.
And
it brought it all up at once.
How would you have done it differently today, knowing what you know, so that you do you have to prepare someone? Can you do it slower? What
I would have done differently primarily was tell everybody around me I'm going to be letting go of this stuff, and I'm going to go be alone for 3 days in a hotel room or something. Okay. I'm going to go to the mountains, or I'm going to go ride my horse for 8 hours and scream, cry, rant, rave, whatever it is I have to do. I'll have my little torch with me, right? I'm going to be using my lights, right. And I'm going to go deal with this instead of, I didn't warn my husband, hey, I'm going to be doing some therapy work on myself this morning, because this was something new. A friend sent me a book. They knew about my new torches. She was an acupuncturist. She said, you should try this, but try it with a light instead of the needles. Let's see. And she did the same thing. And the next week we're on the phone with each other going, oh my God, what did we do? So now we teach this, but we don't teach this until after someone has fully graduated the photopuncture training, and is, taking responsibility not only for themselves, but the reactions of their clients. Because originally I was like, this is really powerful. We'll put it out just like EFT. And boy, if somebody didn't know that how to regulate their emotions, how to interact with the people around them and say, but again, I didn't set expectations for people around me, and I didn't set my intentions about how this session was going to affect me and how I was going to deal with it. And I just did it. I was in the moment, but I wasn't realizing how present I needed to be about the outcome.
Yeah, and I would say
trigger.
Yeah, you said earlier that it's for all energy medicine, right? To set the intention.
Anything, all medicine. I know people who, I think that some people have great results with chemotherapy and radiation because they fully believe in it. They love the doctor. They know this is going to be right. But the people who go into it with fear and terror and don't trust the doctor, don't trust the hospital, they're going to have poor outcomes. I'm not saying that it's always going to be a direct one-on-one relationship, but it's going to affect how you deal with it. Are you somebody who tends to laugh and find the joy and find what's funny in a situation? Oh my God, I just had a day of diarrhea, right? And find that funny? Or are you somebody who's going to implode because everything didn't go right? That's how.
Well, and that's actually, so that's what I was talking about with my mentor today when things were not going well. I said, well, yesterday was your day for plot twist. Today's my day for plot twist. And life, look, no one promised that life was going to go smooth. It's really just up to you on how you want to choose to respond to it. And that goes back to the thing with intention. And I have a similar story, not about myself, but a client who didn't understand that when he was taking lemon essential oil in a veggie cap internally, and we're detoxing the liver, right? That he was going to be expelling his anger.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's exactly what I was doing with my husband. I was expelling, and I was having an emotional detox, right?
Right.
And that can be just as brutal and just as embarrassing, just as overwhelming as a physical detox. And if you're having that kind of detoxification, this is one of the reasons why we talk so much with the light. Most people dealing with light therapy, they've heard of red light therapy. The biggest marketing, well, for the first 30, 40 years was lasers, right? Big fancy surgical type lasers and things that cost a doctor $50,000 to $100,000 to put in their office.
Right.
And then 15 years ago, the panels came out.
Right.
We stand in front of a wall, and the biohackers and the athletes would show how you could stand in front of this wall of light, of red light, and you'd get better circulation and more energy in your body. What you and I are talking about when we talk about light therapy is more targeted, more directed. It's pads directly against the skin. And I don't like, there's now new sleeping bag size pads
Yeah.
I don't want to trigger every cell in the body to go into detox at one time by too much light to all cells. I believe that light therapy is done best when it's done in the right order, at the right place, in the right order, with the right color of light at the right timing. And so we prepare the lymphatic system and the nervous system for light before we start detoxing all the cells, before we clean out the liver. And if we don't, then just like with any other modality, you can see Herx reactions, exhaustion, skin outbreaks, emotional overwhelm, muscle pain, because everything had the energy to detox. So it all did it at one time, and your lymphatic system wasn't ready to purge all that yet.
Yeah. So it's a very real thing, right? And, I remember you telling me this story. I did it anyway. Because I'm like, let's get her done.
If a little's good, more must be better.
And it's really not. I mean, actually, one of my clients said, okay, so I'm going to do the light for 30 seconds, but I'm going to work up to longer. I'm like, no.
Well, for photopuncture, right. For photopuncture, no, you don't need it longer. If anything, you're going to learn how to do it faster.
Right.
In less than 30 seconds. But yeah, for your listeners, there's photobiomodulation, where we saturate the cells with the energy they need to do their jobs better. That's what light therapy does. Gives the cells the energy they need. It triggers all kinds of enzymatic reactions and physical reactions, but it does it by giving them these photons, this energy.
Yeah.
Light packets are photons, which are interchangeable in this situation with the electrons that the body pushes through the body. And then there's photopuncture, which is acupuncture, but with light instead of needles. And the advantage to photopuncture over acupuncture, in my opinion, A, it's non-invasive. Nobody's sticking me with a needle.
Mm-hmm.
B, I can do it for myself. I don't need to go to the acupuncturist 3 times a week, which I did at one point in my life.
Me too.
And C, it's completely non-invasive. It's safe. I can put it anywhere on my body. I might do it wrong. I might not get it in the right spot the first time, but I'll never hurt anything. I'll never cause a problem. I'm just using it to tell the brain exactly where the problem is and what I need.
Yeah, I mean,
Tension right there.
Two reasons that I love it too. One, it's non-invasive for people who don't want needles. Look, I love acupuncture. I still don't like needles, and I would have to cough every time they put the needle. Like we would time it so when the needle hit my skin, I would cough to distract my brain.
Right.
Right. I don't want to do that. And so there's a lot of people who don't want needles. And then secondly, the most important part for me, and I think for the world, is the self-care component, to be responsible for your health at home. I think, as someone who tethered herself to a doctor for 20 years, taking 50 drugs, I'm on a mission to do things a little differently. Right.
Yeah, right.
And I'm not for everyone. It is okay. I even have a t-shirt that I wore yesterday that says, I am not for everyone.
I'm an acquired. I used to have a plaque that said, I am an acquired taste.
Oh, even better. I might get that shirt as a shirt. The other shirt I have, which is, it says, God loves you, but I'm his favorite. Right. So, right. So, if I can't be your favorite, I can be his favorite. So
there you go.
Right. So, but the thing is, those two things, the fact that it's non-invasive, you can't, well, 3 things. You can't really hurt yourself unless you take this and bonk it over your head. We don't recommend it. And you can help yourself immediately, at home is a huge, huge selling point for me. And I will tell you, and I'm not recommending this to people, but I broke my wrist in 4 places. And the only
Don't do that.
Well, yeah, I know. But and it was the first time ever that I did. It was a couple of years ago. I hear you. So does everybody on the podcast. So I had an x-ray, and the bone was moved. Yeah, but I can't be exposed to any chemicals. I can't do any of that stuff. And so I went into prayer, and the second x-ray showed that the bone was moved back and healed completely and off just a slight here. And the surgeon said he could not have done a better job.
That's awesome.
So
when you're doing things like that, it's
using
not
light.
just you, it's not just putting light on it, it's setting the intention that the bone goes back where it belongs. It's setting the intention that the pain is something that is just negligible. It's setting intention. And the more you do that, the easier it's a muscle that we use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Setting intention, using Reiki, using energy, using whatever you're doing is like a muscle.
Yes.
It takes practice. The more you do this, we recently, after 30 years of me working with light and teaching light, it finally coalesced for me that people needed to have a step-by-step of learning to use targeted light. Whether they were an acupuncturist, we have two acupuncturists now in our 28-day coaching, because they're so used to doing it with needles, they wanted to experience the step-by-step of empowering their clients to try it with light.
Does it include acupuncturist right here?
And more acupuncturists are now using light around the world, because needles are single use. People are afraid of them, and they're expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Acupuncturists are learning that, hey, if I can use a little flashlight, a little laser pen, something, and activate these points, I'm not incurring that expense. I'm not triggering people's emotions around needles. So we've put up a step-by-step program, whether it's a 28-day program for teaching people to use targeted light, to get themselves back into better sleep, setting a stronger foundation for health, and creating the habit of short periods of self-care. Because all of us are bad about that, especially those who are caregivers. We're spending all of our time taking care of everyone else around us, and stepping back and giving ourselves permission to spend 5 to 10 minutes, a couple, 3 times a day, doing self-care, setting an intention for our own health, setting the intention for our own abundance and joy, means that we have more to give to everybody else. So we now,
and I want to
start a coaching program
for people, or for anybody who is watching this, because this will also be aired on every podcast channel that does not have video. So I will let you know how to do what I'm about to show you. Let me see if I have a window here, the Chrome tab. There we go. Okay. Okay. So Photonic Therapy Institute is where Kay is at. And, people always go, oh, and I must confess, I may make a profit. I'm not confessing. I will make a profit, because this is the best stuff on the planet. Okay. I was like, of course, we're all here to do business, right? But I have a unique link, and I encourage you to learn more, okay, about this. And we have a 28-day. Can we talk about the 28-day challenge?
That's what I really was just talking about. It's really going to the challenge as opposed to straight to the light store. But yeah, the 28-day challenge is designed that for 4 weeks, we start by just getting better sleep the first week, putting our nervous system into a rest and digest state before bed, getting better sleep, waking up more refreshed. We've had some reports come back from people that for the first time in over a decade, they had a full night's sleep, but that's just in the first week. And then the second week, we start activating, we call them recipes. All right. They're a set of acupuncture points that work together, just like ingredients, to tell the brain where the problem is and what we need from it to help bring things back into balance. So that we do that first thing in the morning, we activate health and balance points that help to support digestion, immune, circulatory, respiratory, the major systems and organs of the body, including mental.
Well,
And the third week, we add in lymphatic drainage. So we really help lower the inflammation in the body and improve our recovery. And then the fourth week, each person is able to choose what one symptom, problem, area of the body that they want to focus on. And we add that fourth layer.
mm-hmm.
And by the end of the 28 days, now you're ready to mix and match and use the ones you want to continue using or find more recipes, but how you now have the habit of taking a few minutes, a few times a day to bring yourself back into balance, to give yourself that health benefit.
Right. And the thing is, and I have a confession to make. So I brought people on to do the 28-day challenge. They're doing a great job. I already had a pattern that was really working for me. And I added the torches into it, but not exactly how you have it, but what was working for me, But the point is that what I really learned and loved about myself is that I start every single morning with self-care.
Yes.
And I end every single night with self-care.
And everybody has to work that. There's ways, and that's one of the reasons I call them recipes.
Right.
Because people ask me a lot of times, well, can I activate the same point twice in one day? Can you use salt in 2 different recipes in one day?
Right.
Do you like oregano? Maybe you wanted it in your breakfast eggs and in your dinner. So you learn that you can reuse ingredients.
Yes.
And they have similar effects on your body, but also once you really get to knowing what you're doing. So for example, for me, when I've been using health and balance points for decades, but even I have gotten lazy about activating these points with light every morning. So when we launched the 28-day coaching, I said, I'm going to do it with everyone else. And that was we started on the 4th of July, Independence Day.
Yeah.
And I have only missed one day since then of activating health and balance. But I was missing lymphatic drainage in the middle of the day. I'd get busy and I'd forget. So now I learned how to incorporate a few of the lymphatic drainage points into my health and balance.
So
it's like I added chocolate chip.
I need to do the same thing. I need to do that lymphatic drainage. Although I am seeing, which is very, very cool, I don't have nearly as much inflammation as I used to. And where it showed up, interestingly enough, Kay, was in my legs. Like, my legs aren't inflamed. I had inflamed knees. I had inflamed calves. And they are not inflamed. They are tight.
And that's the beautiful thing so I was having the same thing when we started the 28-day challenge. All of a sudden, this is not typical for me, but all of a sudden I had a lot of lymphedema in my left leg. My left foot was extremely painful. It had been that way for about 4.5 weeks. And so I waited till week 3. Just activating health and balance every day helped. But then by week 3, when I was adding in the full lymphatic drainage, it cleared it. I haven't had any swelling in that left foot again.
Right.
So now, once that cleared, I did decide I wanted just a little bit more lymphatic drainage in my health and balance. So I tweaked it. And we tweak recipes for people. Like we've got people that can't breathe at night. So we added respiratory support to the rest and digest that helps to shift the body into deeper sleep. It's like adding chocolate chips and walnuts to your cookies.
Now, I have to ask you a question because I want to have permission, because I just wanted to show people real quick. I want to just pick one of my charts and show people so they know what they're looking for. Is that okay?
Well, it comes with the 28-day challenge, right? They get given the charts.
Visualize it here, what they're going to get in the mail.
You're welcome to show the health and balance points.
So that's what I'll look for real quick. I'll look for the health
or the rest and digest.
Yeah.
We make those available to the general public. We want people using it with any targeted light tool. It doesn't have to be one that we sell.
Although it's better.
Well, we think our torches are a little bit better. They were originally designed for us working on horses, so they're exceptionally durable. We call ourselves the Dodge Ram of the light therapy world because we're looking for durability and power. Not we're not the cheapest on the market. We're not the Ferrari.
Well, we don't want cheap. We want effective, and we want something that's also going to last long term, right? And so this is just an example. It looks like I might need to make it smaller, but I don't know how I'm going to do that right.
That's all right. It's an older version, so.
Yeah. And so it's photopuncture recipes for peak human health, health and balance. And you see how Kay has created these recipes for where to put. It's really simple. And that's really all you don't need to memorize this. You get these with your, with your torches. But the point is that it's not hard. It's easy. And, health doesn't actually have to be hard.
Exactly. It's creating better habits. Things that I did, I set an intention I had to been about 35. And like I said, I was very arthritic. I was extremely osteoporotic. I stood up at 32 and my foot broke. Snapped.
Oh my.
And I had a really dear friend who was an ICU nurse, and she said, let's open up the door to your truck. And she looked on the floor in my truck because I lived out of my truck. I was working on, I had dog shows and so on, working on people and animals. And there was soda wrappers, soda cans. There was fast food wrappers. There was junk food.
Me too.
She said, take responsibility for this. Mm-hmm. You look down, and that day I gave up soda. I may have one natural root beer a year at the state fair, and that's it.
Yeah, because, and you do want to explain to people why, even if it's a natural root beer, why it's not good for us, what those bubbles do?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, but the sugar, of course, is something. That's a part of it. If you're going to drink Coke, drink Mexican Coke with real sugar as opposed to fake sugar. High fructose corn syrup is worse than regular cane sugar, which is worse than, it's too bioavailable, just too much sugar. But also, your sodas are made with carbonic acid. Mm-hmm. And the acid is acid forming, and it changes the pH in our body. Right. And the more acidic our body is, the more the bloodstream has to steal calcium and magnesium and alkalizing minerals from the bones. So the more we drink soda, the faster we steal from our bones, the weaker they become.
We're actually depleting our body of minerals. Is that fairly accurate?
So we're pulling calcium and magnesium and other macro minerals out of the bones. And where does that happen the most? Where the blood supply is right up against the bone the most. So in the neck, in the feet. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was the feet. My foot just broke. And for my mother had exceptionally bad osteoporosis when she was like 52. They told her she had 90% osteoporosis.
Wow.
She would get up in the morning and she would hang in a traction device because she'd shrunk like 4 inches and everything was collapsing. And so we got her started on this is before I used light the way I do now, but we got her started with lots of fresh minerals and changing her diet, took her off the bread and all of that first thing in the morning and got her eating fresh fruit instead.
Yeah, big difference.
And it was just easier. She had a bread machine. She loved it. She'd do that, and margarine and that. She thought that was good. And that's all they'd eat in the morning. By getting her on bioavailable minerals, good amino acid chelates, and blue-green algae, and raw apple cider vinegar, which sounds like an acid, but you breathe it off in your lungs and you're left with a lot of alkaline residue. Mm-hmm. She remineralized her bones over the course of 18 months to where the doctor was like, you no longer have osteoporosis.
Yeah, I reversed it too, Dolly.
Yeah, and I don't have that anymore.
Yeah. So, and I didn't have lights at that time, but I did do the ACV. I did all the things that you're talking about. Right. And, we have 2 minutes left and I have to meet somebody at the RV center.
Okay.
But let me just say this. I need you back on the show again. And I hope you'll say yes. You can tell me no. Say yes here. You can say no offline if you
know how tough it is. You know how tough it is to get me to talk, Jodi. So
yeah.
pick a topic and we'll show up.
Sure. So I always feel like there's nothing I can't ask you. Because because one, you're so transparent and you're authentic. And thirdly, my God, my dad told me when I met you, she's brilliant. Get her in your life. That's why he was lighting up both ears.
Well, that's very sweet. I think we saw each other as both, energy manipulators and healers, and we have a lot of common goals and intentions.
Yeah, we do. And, I encourage everyone Kay has classes every Thursday. Reach out to me. Just text me at 847-738-0242. It's in every, here, I'll put it in here. And, I'll invite you to learn and join the class for free. She is beyond brilliant. There's never a question she doesn't have an answer for. And if she doesn't, I know that she would say, I don't have an answer for that. I'll get it for you, or it's not my purview. Right. And
one place Stump the Chumps, I can Google things faster than you can ask the question.
Right.
That's the joy these days. You got 3 screens going, and you got your webinar over here, and you got your questions over here, and you're like, okay, what was that word they just said?
Yeah.
But yeah, we enjoy it. My co-host and I love the Stump the Chumps part because we learn so much.
So that's Lee, right? And actually, I owe her a phone call back. So
one of our first graduates.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. Yeah. And so here's the thing. My dad told me growing up, Jodi, if you want to be successful, surround yourself with people who know more and different than you do. Don't surround yourself with people who know all the same things. You'll never grow, right? So that's Kay. There's a lot of overlap that we have, right? But there's a lot that we don't have. And so I'm very grateful that you came into my life, very grateful that you took time today to be on this show and to share your wisdom. And I am going to run, get my RV to the person who needs it. And we will touch base to get you scheduled again because you are, amazing.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for everyone who takes the time to watch. And we hope to hear you on office hours every Thursday morning.
Yeah. And so you start slow, start office hours or start the 28-day challenge, whichever suits you. And then you can breathe with ease and grace and learn what we're talking about, but more importantly, feel what we're talking about. Anything else you want to add to that?
What's that?
Anything else you want to add to that before we say
goodbye? No, we're good. You can always find us at Photonic Therapy Institute. Bye.
Bye. Let me end that stream and